Hi, I'm Zach. I'm here with Mitch and we're working on a small masonry repointing job. Under this wooden threshold, with years and years of the flex of the wooden threshold being stepped on and stuff being moved in and out of the house, over time the mortar has broken down and allowed the bricks to come loose and created some gaps where critters could possibly get in, and it's just not good to have a house with loose mortar. So we'll take you along and show you how the process works.
So the reason I drilled out the joints first, and you usually do this across the whole thing when you're pulling out a brick, is because you don't want to hurt the brick itself. They'd used a couple halves here, and I think that looks bad, so I'm going to replace it with full size brick. And so I'm just going to my chisel, and I can just bust those brick up. But usually you would take your drill bit and drill out all the joints around it so you can just slide that brick out then without hurting it and put it right back in place. So I took all the mortar or the brick out that I didn't want, and I reused one of the brick and actually just used that as a template to cut these other two since they were not full height. Cut them and used a mortar bag, bagged in the mortar on the bottom because getting a trowel in there is super difficult. And then you just slide the brick in, make sure your spacing is good for your head joints and your bed joints, and then once all those three are in, then you can bag around mortar all the rest of it. We know what joiner we want, what striker we want to use because we just look at the existing mortar and it is a concave joint, and so I have a concave joint in my bag, and so that's what we're going to use. And again, you know when to strike when the mortar feels firm to the touch. You don't want to do it too wet or else it squishes out, doesn't get packed in there tight and look kind of sloppy. So you want to make sure that the mortar is nice and firm when you go to strike it. The first joiner I have here is just a regular concave 3/8 by 1/2 inch. That's probably your most common one. I use that for the bed joint here. The next one is same concave steel joiner, but it is a lot thicker, as you can see. And the reason I use this one is because these head joints are pretty thick and you want to get as wide of a joiner you can to get those all in one stroke. The next one I use is this, we call it a slicker. And I wanted that top to get pushed back in, and with this threshold right above it, it's really hard to get that joiner in, that concave in the whole way. So just went ahead and slicked those off straight. After you strike it up, just brush it up, and that's all you gotta do. How we came about getting this color mortar is if you go to your local masonry supply store, hopefully they will have, they call them mortar sticks, that you can borrow, bring out to your house or your job, and hold them up next to the existing mortar, and you can tell which one's closest by that mortar stick. And so that's what we did, and this is a type N mortar, colored. I believe the color is khaki. Don't walk on the threshold itself for at least 24 hours, give that mortar plenty of time to set up. And as far as being exposed to rain or thunderstorm, we're under reports here, so we don't have to worry about that. But if that's something that you're worried about, I would say at least, good 6 to 12 hours before you let it get rained on.
Well, thanks Mitch for showing us how that's done. You make it look pretty simple. The pros always do. If you want to see more videos just like this one, hit subscribe and tap the bell to be notified every time we upload. We'll see you next time.